Good morning.
Well, my goodness. There are certain family contingents here that certainly fill out the pews. And we're grateful and happy to have them here. But most of all, we're happy for Betty. Would you please rise and join us? Jesus is beautiful. Let his beauty be seen. Let the beauty of Jesus be seen in me. All his wonderful passion and purity. O thou Spirit divine, all my nature refine, till the beauty of Jesus be seen in me. Let's do that again. Let the beauty of Jesus be seen in me. All his wonderful passion and purity. O thou Spirit divine, all my nature refine, till the beauty of Jesus be seen in me. What a wonderful thought to let Jesus be seen in you. And we see that every Sunday morning right here. Whether you're here in the pews or you're watching online, you know, we got a good friend in Jesus. Let's sing about that too. What a friend we have in Jesus, all our sins and griefs to bear. What a privilege to carry everything to God in prayer. Oh, what peace we often forfeit. Oh, what needless pain we bear. That's true. All because we do not carry everything to God in prayer. Have we trials and temptations? Is there trouble everywhere? Just look around. We should never be discouraged. Take it to the Lord in prayer. Can we find a friend so faithful, who will all our sorrows share? Jesus knows our every weakness. Take it to the Lord in prayer. Are we weak and heavy laden, cumbered with a load of care? Precious Savior, still our refuge. Take it to the Lord in prayer. Now do thy friends despise, forsake thee? Take it to the Lord in prayer. In his arms he'll take and shield thee. Thou wilt find a solace there. Better words were never spoken. You may be seated. If you've got a problem, take it to God. He'll take care of it.
Good morning. It is good to be back with you this morning in person, although I wasn't even with you virtually last week. A wonderful weekend was had by us ladies at retreat. There were 6 plus Benny at retreat. We filled a room, adding my daughter and daughter-in-law. It was great. It was refreshing. It was everything we'd hoped it would be, on being uplifted up at Quaker Hill. Look forward to a few more joining us next year. That might be you. On your way in this morning, you received a bulletin. This Thursday evening, there will not be men's Bible study. We will be in South Carolina at Fort Jackson for our son's graduation from basic training. Thank you, yes. We start the journey tomorrow night. We're saving some money, flying an airline we haven't flown before, so you can pray for us. We have a 12-hour layover in Las Vegas, just 12 hours. So we leave tomorrow, we actually arrive in Atlanta Tuesday afternoon, where we will then drive to South Carolina. So we're praying for smooth travels. Also for health. Roy is very sharing and generous, as you all know. And despite my saying, I refuse to accept the gift of a cold that you are offering, I am fighting a cold. It is a cold, just to be clear on what I'm fighting. So prayers for wellness are appreciated as well. The rest stop downstairs, that is a ministry we are starting for our law enforcement and first responders. It is coming right along. If you're in the fellowship hall, if you come up these back steps, this last room here is the room that it is. You can peek in and see. It is a work in progress, but work is happening and progress is being made. So we are looking forward, and often people are offering some of us, items for this room. Our community loves that we are doing this, and they are appreciative and helping out in ways that they can. We are in Bible study, Sunday school season again. It's much more organized for our children's ministry. Thank you, Kelly. The adults, well, we are meeting, we are learning, we are praying, and we will get into a rhythm of a more organized fashion, more organized lessons soon. I promise that is coming. We do have some prayer requests and praises this morning. Both Art and Lillian are still in chemo. If you could pray for them. I already asked for prayer for Antonio and his family. Terry Sparling has had several deaths in her family. Really appreciate your prayers for her and for just the hits that seem to keep on coming. We do have, we want to pray for Jerry this Friday. He is having a procedure on his neck. It's not healing as we've been praying for, and so they're going to go in and do some things to help his neck because it's getting worse. So you can ask him about that later if you'd like the details on that. But this Friday, if you'll pray for Jerry and for the medical team as they go in and work on his neck. Praises. This is wonderful to see. Laura, who we have been praying for a long time. How long have we been praying for Laura? When did she first get sick? Whose friend? At least 6 months? Okay. Yeah. We have a praise. She's feeling good. This last surgery has left her feeling better than she has in years. So she is looking forward to getting a job. She's feeling good. So praise Jesus. Continue to pray for Laura as she heals and now is looking for a job. Good to see Brooke here this morning. She and I are buds. Right? We talk about dinosaurs, right? I remember. Yes. Dinosaurs are in the Bible. We like dinosaurs. It's good to see you here this morning, my friend. She's trying out a standing table. It helps her stand and do activities. So this is a wonderful thing. And if you'll join us in praying for a group of young people for some activities. That would be wonderful to have. So just pray for a group of young folks to come alongside her. And I'm wonderful that the standing table is working. Are there other, prayer. Karen, Big Mama, as most of you know her, I believe. She is in the hospital. She went in on Thursday and then found out, not sure the order, that she has COVID. So then she was moved to a different place in the hospital. But she is posting on Facebook, and it looks like she is doing better and is looking forward to coming home soon. Hopefully by Tuesday is the last I saw. Okay, all right. So if you'll pray for Karen or Big Mama, as some of you know her, that would be wonderful. Are there other prayer requests or praises that are slipping my mind at this moment? Okay. Terry is with us this morning and let us know that her sister Jerry has been updated. Her doctor is giving her about a month to live. So she last week found out that one of her sisters died earlier this month. And so that was one that she didn't know was sick. It was unexpected. So if you will continue to pray for Terry and for Jerry, her sister, to be given 30 days prognosis to live. So just be with this family. And the Browns are watching from Maryland. That would be my parents. Others? All right, let's continue our time in worship.
Please rise. Nothing is impossible when you put your trust in God. Nothing is impossible when you're trusting in His word. Hearken to the voice of God to thee. Is there anything too hard for me? Then put your trust in God alone and rest upon His word. For everything, oh everything, yes everything is possible with God. Shall we sing that again? We haven't done this one for a while. Nothing is impossible when you put your trust in God. I hope you trust. Nothing is impossible when you're trusting in His word. Hearken to the voice of God to thee. Is there anything too hard for me? Then put your trust in God alone and rest upon His word. For nothing is everything, yes, everything is possible with God. I like some of the older hymns. They just say it like it is. Think of those words, nothing is impossible with God. Going back to an even older hymn, He touched me. Shackled by a heavy burden, 'neath a load of guilt and shame, then the hand of Jesus touched me, and now I am no longer the same. He touched me, oh, He touched me, and oh, the joy that floods my soul. Something happened, and now I know He touched me and made me whole. Since I've met this blessed Savior, since He's cleansed and made me whole, I will never cease to praise Him. I'll shout it while eternity rolls. He touched me, oh, He touched me, and oh, the joy that floods my soul. Something happened, and now I know He touched me and made me whole. You may be seated.
That's distracting. This morning, we are continuing our series in the miracles of Jesus. Roy preached last week. Those who were here, do you remember the miracle? Hmm? 10 lepers. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Okay, all right. Yes, thank you, Roy. So last week, Roy gave us 5 practical ways to thank God daily. And I want to recap those because, 1, a group of us were gone to retreat, and 2, I think they could just bear repeating this morning. So the first thing he told us to do was to keep a blessing journal. How many of you went home and started one? Very honest, no from the back. Pat saying yes. Thank you, son. Appreciate you. And so he encouraged us to write our blessings down. Top 3 a day. There were several years that I took Ann Voskamp's challenge to do 1,000 blessings. And she encouraged that 3 blessings a day as well. She gave prompts, so like three things blue. Because, after 30 days, some of us have a hard time thinking of blessings that aren't the same things over and over. And so Roy encouraged us to keep a blessing journal, that not all blessings are huge. Maybe it's the beautiful weather, a hug from a friend. Perhaps it's a baby who slept through the night. Let me know when that happens, Sky. Maybe it's you got a bonus at work. How about a warm cup of tea, coffee, or cocoa? An encouraging phone call or a note? Whatever the blessing, he encouraged us to practice writing it down as a form of giving thanks. And he says that you'll strengthen your gratitude muscles so that you, like one of the 10 lepers, will remember to say thank you. That saying thanks will become such a habit. And by thanks, we're saying thanks to God. The second thing he encouraged us to do was to develop a daily routine of thanking God for his love every morning and his faithfulness every evening. Our early church families had routines to their days, so that Christ would be central in their gratitude. So to develop this rhythm of waking with giving thanks and ending with giving thanks. Before you even get out of bed in the morning, thank God for loving you. Before we fall asleep at night, whisper a prayer, thanking him for his faithfulness throughout the day. The third thing was to set an alarm on your phone or your watch. Maybe that's the same thing, they might be connected, to remind you to give thanks. The psalmist wrote in Psalm 119, 164, 7 times a day I praise you. 7. Like, counted them. What a beautiful pattern. In our day and age, we have easy reminders. Even on the flip phones, they have alarms. If you don't know where your alarm is on a flip phone, I see several people under 30 who would love to help you out. I'm serious. Say, set an alarm for 8, noon, and 4, and they will. And then your phone will go off and you'll forget, why is my phone going off? How do I get it to shut off? I don't know what's happening. And then you'll say, oh, wait, that's my reminder to give thanks. Okay? So we can set reminders at specific hours so that we pause and give thanks. 7 times a day. Imagine how different our lives will be if we truly paused 7 times a day to give thanks. To me, that's a really big challenge. I'm like 3 times a day person. 7 times to intentionally pause and give thanks. Okay, he encouraged us to listen to worship music to prompt our gratitude. Most of us know that a chorus or a hymn will just enter our heart. Sometimes we sing it out loud, sometimes we don't. But it's a great tool as a prompt to give thanks. So if the Lord gives you a song in your heart, not only listen to the lyrics of what they're telling you, but thank the Lord that he gave you a song. The 5th thing is to forgive those who've hurt you. Forgiveness and gratitude. Might be hard to see how these fit together, but they do. God's forgiving you for all the times you've hurt him. And out of gratitude for his forgiveness, we forgive those who have hurt us. When you realize the depth of our own sinfulness and the depth of God's grace, gratitude wells up from inside of us, and it becomes easier, not easy, easier to forgive those who have hurt us. So Christ's compassion and love towards his enemies prompted him to heal those who came to torment him. So we saw Jesus' gracious and loving heart throughout his entire life here on earth. We're going to read this morning from Luke 22. If you would like to turn or slide, swipe, click to Luke 22:47. Luke 22:47. While he was still speaking, a crowd came up, and the man who was called Judas, one of the 12, was leading them. He approached Jesus to kiss him, but Jesus asked him, "Judas, Are you betraying the Son of Man with a kiss?" When Jesus' followers saw what was going to happen, they said, "Lord, should we strike with our swords?" And one of them struck the servant of the high priest, cutting off his right ear. But Jesus answered, "No more of this." And he touched the man's ear and healed him. Then Jesus said to the chief priests, the officers of the temple guard, and the elders who'd come for him, "Am I leading a rebellion, that you've come with swords and clubs? Every day I was with you in the temple courts, and you did not lay a hand on me. But this is your hour when darkness reigns." I find one of the most shocking parts of Christ's miracle in this passage is not what is done, the healing of the ear. That's not shocking to me, but who it is done to. Christ heals one of the men who came to take him, to torture him, to lead him to his death. A person I would consider my enemy, and yet when Peter treats this person with violence, yes, it was Peter who the man's ear off, Christ treats him with love and compassion. Just as Jesus heals this man's ear, Christ heals the violence in our hearts, the destructiveness in our hearts, allowing us to follow him with grace and forgiveness. The disciples were with Christ a lot during his 3 years of ministry. Christ often told them, insisted on them to love their enemies, to turn the other cheek. His disciples asked Christ whether they should attack this armed mob who comes to arrest him. They proceed to strike out with violence. You know, Peter, let's not be too hard on Peter, okay? He was born out of religious zeal. He wants to protect his Savior. Let's not think, shame on you, Peter, okay? They come at night with swords and clubs and torches, and he comes to his Savior's defense. Like, no, you are not taking my Lord. It also might have been out of lack of understanding and lack of being prepared for what was to come. In Luke 22:46, so the verse right before I started reading, Jesus rebukes his disciples and says, "Why are you sleeping?" They were asleep. "Get up and pray so that you will not fall into temptation." So they were undisciplined. They were unaware of the Lord's plan. They were groggy and frightened. Okay, they'd just been woke up, not for the first time. So they were groggy. Any of you ever wake up out of a sound sleep, like kind of like you're just asleep 10 minutes and then you're woke up and you just don't know, and you just come to, and maybe not the most pleasant way? Just me? Okay. No, okay, thank you. So they were groggy. They were frightened. Imagine being woke out of a sleep, somebody pounding on your door. What does your heart do? It leaps, like your adrenaline, your heart starts pounding. It is funny, isn't it? Peter lashes out against someone who's honestly of little consequence. Malchus is a servant who was likely unarmed. He was holding a torch. He was lighting the way for his master. So Jesus heals Malchus's ear. And then he addresses those who come to arrest him, namely, meaning it's named, the chief priests, officers of the temple, and the elders. So not only did this mob come to arrest Jesus in a secluded place at the Mount of Olives, but they were prepared for armed conflict. Jesus says, "Have you come out against a robber with swords and clubs?" Like, it's me. We were together every day. We know each other. You know who I am. And so while the mob met with violence initially, Peter, Christ continues to surprise. He prevented further bloodshed. He stopped it cold. He showed compassion to the injured man. And so Christ continues to reveal the depth of his love to those around him. And he doesn't only heal those who ask or those who deserve, but those who persecute him. This is a true story found in the Today in 2014. After a 24-hour shift, firefighter and EMT Matt Swatzel fell asleep at the wheel, crashing into another vehicle. As a result, June Fitzgerald was killed, along with the baby she was carrying. She was pregnant. Amid his grief and pain over the loss of his wife, Eric Fitzgerald found space to pray for the man who had accidentally killed his wife and unborn child. Out of this prayer, a friendship was born that pushed Swatzel to plead for a lighter prison sentence for Matt and to meet regularly with him as a friend. This led to healing in both of the men's lives. See, Christ models forgiveness, even to those who have hurt us, turning our enemies into our friends. I don't know if any of you have ever or who need to forgive somebody who wronged you, really wronged you. If you have, you know the freedom that comes with that forgiveness. And if you haven't, you know the resentment and bitterness that comes with holding on to that anger. Fifteen-year-old girl was raped by someone she knew very well. Her family knew and trusted him. And fear kept her silent for 5 years until she was no longer silent. Forgiveness was not on her radar. Protection for other girls was. So she proceeded forward through the court system to bring this man to some sort of justice. And whatever justice she thought the court system might give, it did not. Yes, there was a guilty plea. There was a Ryder prison sentence. It's not what she asked for, it's not what she wanted, but it's what the courts decided. So time passes. And every time she sees or hears the person's name, remembering close family friend, small community, she'd have an anxiety attack, not being able to breathe. Years of counseling, until one day the Lord reminds her. What he does or doesn't do is not tied to you. You are your own person, and you are accountable for the decisions that you're making now. And so I forgave him. I forgave him in more than words. He was my brother's best friend. My brother died 6 months ago. And his best friend was at the service. And I did not have an anxiety attack because we are not connected. Because the Lord healed my heart of anger and resentment. This is a daily reflection from a book called Daily Reflections. It's really creative. It's a book of reflections by AA members for people in AA. And March 20th, the reflection is love and tolerance. And it says, love and tolerance of others is our code. That's from Alcoholics Anonymous, page 84. The reflection is this, and it's anonymous, so there's no names. It's March 20th. That's who gets the credit. I have found that I have to forgive others in all situations to maintain any real spiritual progress. The vital importance of forgiving may not be obvious to me at first sight, but my studies tell me that every great spiritual teacher has insisted strongly upon it. I must forgive injuries, not just in words or as a matter of form, but in my heart. I do this not for the other person's sake, but for my own. Resentment, anger, or a desire to see someone punished are things that rot my soul. Such things fasten my troubles to me with chains. They tie me to other problems that have nothing to do with my original problem. Luke 22:34 says, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. And in Mark 11, and when you stand praying, if you hold anything against anyone, forgive them, so that your Father in heaven may forgive you your sins. See, I think the passage that we've studied this morning has two important ramifications for us as believers. Okay, so there's that caveat for believers. First, Christ heals the violence and anger in our hearts. While humanity was still his enemy, Christ showed compassion and love for us. The second way this passage changes the way we deal with our enemies, with those we dislike, and I will even say hate. Christ calls us to love these people, even if it is at a great cost. The cost to Jesus, after all, was torture and death. So think about a person in your life for whom you've been harboring anger or distaste. Find ways to show compassion and love. You might be surprised at how healing that compassion and love can and will be. And so our takeaway for today, one of many, many, is that Christ heals our angry and violent hearts. This week, make a plan to reach out to someone, toward someone that you've been harboring ill will. Show them compassion. It doesn't have to be hate. It more than likely will not be somebody who raped you, though it very well may be. Reach out to someone whom you have ill will towards, distaste, indifference, and show them compassion. What does that look like? That's up to you. You're not doing it for them. It's for you. It's for Christ to heal your heart. I'll never forget going through the 12 steps and going to somebody and letting them know that I'd wronged them. I was a sweaty mess. I was just so nervous. They not only had no recollection of my wrongdoing, but they ended up comforting me. See, it wasn't for them that I went. It was for me. And making a list of all peoples you've harmed, I don't know why this is just a recovery thing. It is freeing. It is humbling to ask the Lord, give me a name of somebody that I've wronged so that I can make it right. And if he gives you a name, act on it. You're not necessarily asking for forgiveness. You're taking responsibility for your actions. And when we do that, when we say, I am a sinner and I sinned, we open our heart for healing from Jesus. It's open heart surgery for us as Christians. We make ourselves vulnerable and we say, Jesus, heal my heart. And so you have a lot of homework the last 2 weeks. Roy gave you 5 things. I'm giving you 1. We're putting them together. That's 6. Okay? Really, all Roy's come down to one thing, and that is practice gratitude. And he gave us several ways to do that. And my takeaway for the week for you is to ask the Lord, is there somebody who I don't like? Why don't I like them? Last week at retreat, I think we heard it's because we see something of ourselves in that person. It's often what it is. Make a plan to reach out to someone who you've been harboring ill will and show them love and compassion. Shall we pray? Jesus, you are our example of how we are to act, of what we are to say, of what we are to do. And Jesus, you heal the servant in a mob that came to arrest you. And you reach out with compassion and healing and love. And you command us to do the same. You tell us that before we come to you with our prayer requests, that we forgive somebody. If we're holding anything against anyone, we are to go and make that right before we finish our prayer. So, Jesus, I pray that you be with us this week as you heal our hearts. Heal our hearts from bitterness and anger. May we practice love and compassion in real ways. In your name, amen.
Please rise. We're going to end with the song we've been singing throughout this entire series of Miracles of God. Just the chorus. Maybe we'll sing it twice. I believe in miracles. I believe in miracles. I've seen a soul set free. Miraculous, the change in one, redeemed through Calvary. I've seen the lily push its way up through the stubborn sod. I believe in miracles, for I believe in God. Let's do it one more time. I believe in miracles. Do you believe? I've seen a soul set free. Miraculous, the change in one, redeemed through Calvary. I've seen the lily push its way up through the stubborn sod. I believe in miracles, for I believe in God. Thank you. You may be seated. We will continue in just a moment with the open worship, just as soon as we know we're not on the air anymore. This is something that's very, very dear to the hearts of everyone here. It's a chance to, if God gives you a little nudge and says, get up and talk about it. If you feel like you can, go for it. Or we can just sit here in absolute silence and let God fill our hearts.